So let's move to charge chapter, because see, for me charge chapter, I consider charge chapter to be like one of the most important chapter for you. How good you are at charge chapter will determine how good you are at case study solving, because charge is where everything starts off. Like, from charge they ask a lot of scenarios. Wherever the charge chapter is touched upon, they ask a lot of other question also from exemption, value, ITC, etc. So those areas where charge chapter is touching upon all those industries will become very important for you in other two chapters also, exemption and ITC. So I've summarized this chapter into a approach document. What are the things that you have for you to learn? So you have, if you, I'm looking from an ICA material perspective. Okay, what is there in ICA material from charge chapter? Okay, that's what I'm taking it as a basis. So there are two sections that is being dealt in charge chapter in your ICA material, which is section 9 and section 10. But for me, if you ask, I would consider 9 and 10 to be two separate discussions, because 9 is something that touched upon areas like reverse charge, e-commerce operator, wherein 10 is composition levy scheme in full. Okay, so we learn like 5 things relating to composition levy scheme. In section 9, you have like 3 sections where you have to importantly learn, which is subsection 3, subsection 4, subsection 5. And only 9.3 and 9.4 talks about reverse charge mechanism, because 9.5 is talking about cases where GST is to be paid by e-commerce operator. Now, e-commerce operator is also dealt in section 52, which is tax collected at source. So what I have written, you can see here that I have written that 9.5, I have put an arrow mark down and I have written 4 notified cases where ECO, e-commerce operator, okay, like your Uber, Ola, Make My Trip, Urban Company, all of these, Swiggy, Zomato, those kind of companies where they have to pay the entire GST is listed in 9 subsection 5. Also, if you look at while you learn 9 subsection 5, I would also recommend you to learn tax collected at source under section 52. So I'm clubbing those two areas of discussion together. Okay, so considering those to be important, I might club that with the charge chapter discussion itself. We can finish off those two areas as well. Then I have written, you can see that I have written plus exemption plus ITC. Whatever areas that I'm discussing now, I will also touch upon the corresponding area of discussion that we have in which chapter? In your exemption chapter as well as in your ITC chapter. That is also something that we would discuss additionally there. All right, so what I'm putting across is that in section 9, whatever we learn, we will also club exemption and ITC. That's our plan. Then if you look at section 10, which I told you, like your value of supply, it's an independent discussion. When I say an independent discussion, what I mean is that whatever you're going to learn in your section 10 can be separately learned. We don't have to remember something in charge, something in value. No, that's not required. Very small areas where there will be an interconnection. So what I'm going to do now is that I will first knock off section 10. So it will be an easy discussion and you will also feel like, okay, I spared like an hour and I understood one more area of discussion and it's fully over. So likewise, we can go ahead. So I'll recommend you to go take your books, whatever books that you're looking into, take Composition Levy Scheme as a discussion for you. Okay, so if it's ICA material, open the pages where it's Composition Levy Scheme that is being discussed. Okay, if you have my chart book, perfect. You go to, so I've written also page number 50 in your chart notes is what you should refer. All right, okay. So Composition Levy Scheme has 5 areas for us to learn. So I'm going to go solve all these 5 areas. That's our first understanding. There are 2 extra areas of discussion as well. One is marginal service scheme. Another one is 10-2A, that is concessional scheme for supplier of service. Now, composition levy scheme, if you look at 5 areas, let's see what are these 5 areas of discussion. Number 1, what is the advantage of composition levy scheme? Number 2, what is the eligibility criteria? Like who can go for the scheme? What are the conditions that you need to satisfy if you're under the scheme? And who are the person not allowed to opt for composition levy scheme? The area where person not allowed to opt for composition levy scheme, that's where some amendments that has come in 2023 and 4, a little bit of amendments we have, which we will have to go ahead and then look at as an amendment only, because that can be tested. Then procedures, what are the things to be satisfied. Then there is an additional scheme that is available called as 10-2A, and there is an in-between marginal service scheme. So if these 5 areas you learn, your discussion is over. Okay, so let me check the chart book for you to go through. So we are answering all those questions. Huh? So this is in charge chapter. Okay. So I said 5 areas. First is advantages. Before that, you should understand the moment you hear the term scheme, composition levy scheme, you should associate it with something called as an option. It is an option. It is not mandatory for everyone to go for it. Some people who are eligible for it can opt for the scheme. If they go for the scheme, there are some advantages. Okay, if you don't go for the scheme, you won't get those advantages. But if you go for the scheme, you will have certain condition that you have to satisfy, and that is how. And there are certain people who cannot go for this, and there are some procedures that you have to satisfy. This is all the discussion is all about. What is the advantage that you have if you go for composition levy scheme? You can see it on the screen. I have listed 2 advantages. Advantage number 1 is I have written it as easy compliances. Number 2 is lower rate. The second one is the biggest advantage. Easy compliances, let's look at. Normally, a normally registered person, how many returns are they required to submit? On a monthly basis, normal registration. So, anybody who has opted for composition levy scheme will have lower or easy compliances. Whoever did not opt for composition levy scheme, now you call them as in a name called as regular scheme or normal scheme. If you're on a normal scheme, can you tell it in the chart box how many returns you are required to submit in GST? Monthly basis, 2 returns. GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. These are the 2 returns that you need to submit on a monthly basis, which makes your annual number of returns is how much? 2 returns in a month into 12 returns, that makes it 24 returns. Plus an annual return makes it 25 returns in total. So they're saying that if you wanted to file lesser number of returns, if you're somebody who's looking to file lesser number of returns, what you have to do is you can go ahead and then opt for the scheme called as composition levy scheme. The benefit is that normally what is the periodicity in which they will pay taxes in GST? It is monthly. Every month GST needs to be paid to the government on or before 20th of subsequent month. However, if you're going for composition levy scheme, instead of making the payment on a monthly basis, you make a payment on a quarterly basis. You can see quarterly payment of taxes in CMP 08 statement on or before 18th of subsequent month from end of the quarter. So you make quarterly payment. At the time of payment, you fill up something called a CMP 08, which is a payment form. Then, so what about the return? This is only payment. What about returns? It is only a financial year return, which means that in 1 year, only 1 return. Instead of 24 returns plus annual return, you just have to file 1 return in form GSTR 4, and the due date till last year, in the sense till 23-24, the due date used to be 30th of April, but for your examination due date happened to be 30th of June, because for financial year 24-25, okay, just completed financial year, the due date of filing GSTR 4 has been extended to 30th June next financial year. Then there is no annual return, so only 1 return. So we can simply put it like this: if you are under composition levy scheme, you will end up making 4 payments in a year. First quarter payment, April, May, June, you will make the payment on or before 18th of next month, which means you will make the payment on or before 18th of July. 18th of October for second quarter, that is July to September. Third quarter, October to December, 13th January. Jan to March, 18th April. Then after that, you will file something called as GSTR 4 on or before 30th of June from this year onwards. That's all. 4 payments, 1 return, and your compliance is over. Instead of going for 25 and all that, you are now reduced. Isn't that an advantage? Okay, so that is considered to be your first advantage, which is easy compliances. But that's not your biggest advantage. Biggest advantage happened to be the second advantage. Now, when you read the second advantage, what is it talking about? Lower rate. You have to be very careful in understanding how to compute this lower rate. They said, If you go for composition levy scheme, your normal GST rate, what are the normal GST rates that you have? You have 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. These are the GST rate that you normally have. Instead of paying all of this, you can actually go for a composition levy scheme and then pay lower rate. What is this lower rate? If you're a manufacturer, if you go for composition levy scheme, you will end up paying only how much GST? 1% GST on, it is not on value. They have used the word turnover in a state or union territory. But if you're a trader other than manufacturer in goods, you will pay 1% on what turnover? Taxable turnover. This has been tested a couple of times to understand, like, whether you remember this word called taxable turnover. Okay. So please remember, if you're a trader, you will end up paying 1% on taxable turnover, not on your entire turnover, even if you opt for composition levy scheme. If you're a restaurant, your tax rate is 5%. Now, no restaurants would go for this composition levy scheme at the moment, because composition levy scheme rate is 5%. Normal rate is also for a large number of restaurants is what? 5%. So there's no point in going for composition levy scheme. There is no advantage. Then why did they come up with this scheme for restaurants? When restaurants was initially subject to GST, it was subject to tax at 18%. If it's non-AC, 12%. At that time, if they go for composition levy scheme, their tax rate used to be reduced to 5%. Now, there is no advantage as such that you can look at, because even if they don't go for composition levy scheme, now the tax rate for restaurants is 5%. But please understand, in service only restaurants can opt for composition levy scheme. So we're talking about manufacturer, trader and restaurant. These are the three people. And only an extra point that you have to remember is for trader, it is 1% on taxable turnover. So if my normal tax rate, say I'm selling a product worth 10,000 and normal tax rate is 28%. I have to pay 2,800 rupees to the government. The same fellow opt for composition levy scheme, he will end up paying 1%, that is 100 rupees to the government. So 2,700 is the loss for the government if somebody is going for composition levy scheme. Are you guys understanding? It's an actual loss, because they are not paying 28%, they're just paying 1%, 27% loss for the government. Will the government take these losses for Reliance Industries? Should I give this option for Reliance Industries and big companies? No. So this option should only be there for people who are eligible for this option. So that's where the second point comes in, which is eligibility criteria. What is the eligibility criteria? They said the basis for eligibility criteria is aggregate turnover. What is an aggregate turnover? We'll discuss that in a while now. Please understand, aggregate turnover has to be within a specific threshold limit for you to opt for this composition levy scheme. To understand this threshold limit, I am categorizing the states into two categories. One is general category states, another is special category states. And we have a code word for special category states. Is that if you're in special category states, you can opt for composition levy scheme only if your aggregate turnover is less than 75 lakhs. What are the special category states? Satnam 3. Okay, let's expand Satnam 3 and then see. You can get the small states in India. S stands for Sikkim, A for Arunachal Pradesh, T for Tripura, N for Nagaland, U for Uttarakhand, and 3M. All these 3M are from Northeast. What are they? Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya. To remember these states, we have a code word called Satnam 3. So we will say, if you are under Satnam 3 states, you need to have your turnover less than 75 lakhs. Then only you can opt for composition levy scheme. However, all other states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Delhi, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, all these states comes under what? General category. In those states, up to what turnover you can opt for composition levy scheme? Up to 1.5 crores turnover you can opt for composition levy. This is your understanding. Are you guys with me so far, whatever we have discussed? So what is the understanding of this? We are saying that only smaller suppliers can opt for composition levy scheme with a specific turnover limit. What if? Okay, now I'm giving you few additional areas. Okay, say last year my turnover was, I'm in Tamil Nadu. Okay, last year my turnover, last financial year my turnover was less than 1.5 crore. Am I eligible for composition levy scheme? Yes. Okay, last year means 2024-25. In 25-26, by September, when I say September, it means from April of 2025 till September 2025, which means it's 6 months. I'm doing very good business. My turnover is now already more than 1.5 crore. My next question is, can I continue in composition levy scheme? Can I continue? Last year my turnover is less than the threshold limit. Can I continue? Yes or no? Can I continue in composition levy scheme? The answer is no. That's why we are not saying last year turnover. If your last year turnover is less than 1.5 CR, you can opt for composition levy scheme in the next year. The moment your turnover exceeds 1.5 crores in this year, you will automatically go out of composition levy scheme. So up to 1.5 crore turnover, you can be under composition levy scheme, is your understanding. Is it clear? Suppose I'm somebody who's located, I have two branches. One branch is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, I have two branches. One branch is in Tamil Nadu. Second branch is in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay. What will be the threshold limit applicable to me? Tamil Nadu turnover happened to be this Tamil Nadu branch making only within the state. Supermarket in Tamil Nadu turnover is 60 lakh. Arunachal Pradesh turnover is 40 lakh. What is aggregate turnover? 1 crore. Aggregate turnover is a turnover on all India basis for a single pan. It's an all India turnover. So I have one branch in Tamil Nadu, another in Arunachal Pradesh. My collective turnover is 1 crore. What will be the threshold limit applicable to me? Will it be 1.5 crores or will it be 75 lakhs? It will be 75 lakhs. Why? If I have one branch in a lower limit state, another in a higher limit state, lower limit will be applicable. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? If I have one branch in Satnam 3, another branch in general category, which limit I should apply? I should apply the Satnam 3 limit, 75 lakhs. So my turnover here is 1 crore more than 75 lakhs. Am I eligible or not eligible? I'm not eligible for composition. Are you guys understanding this? Can I have a quick thumbs up if it's clear for you? Okay. Now, what do you mean by aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover is an important definition. So if you don't remember the definition or you don't have the definition with you in this format, you should probably copy or take a photo and then keep it, because aggregate turnover is like once in 3 exam, you will have to write this in an exam, right? So you keep having questions on aggregate turnover. Aggregate turnover is a turnover on, this is how the definition goes, and I want you to remember it in such a way that you can reproduce it in your exam. Aggregate turnover is the turnover on all India basis for a single pan. There are 4 things that is included in aggregate turnover. So aggregate turnover includes taxable supply, exempt supply including non-taxable supply, export, interstate supply. It excludes 2 things. One is GST and cess. Second is inward supply, even if it's taxed under RCM. This is the definition that we have for aggregate turnover. They're saying that you should include taxable turnover. Even an exempt turnover is part of your turnover. Export is part of your turnover. Interstate is part of your turnover. However, the GST amount you collect will not be treated as part of your turnover. Turnover is like your accounting turnover, similar to that. So don't include the GST. That's not your part, your money. That is something you collect and then pay to the government, right? Similarly, purchase is never your turnover. Inward supply, even if it is paid tax under RCM, you pay tax under reverse charge, still it's not part of your turnover. It will be the inward supply, even if it's taxed under RCM, is the turnover of the supplier. I have written that as a point here. Turnover under RCM is included in the hands of the supplier and not recipient. I will give you quick examples so that you understand this in total. Look at the example on the screen and then try to get an understanding of it. Say Raju has 2 floor shops. One ground floor it is fresh vegetable which is exempt, turnover is 90 lakh. On the first floor it is supermarket which has a turnover of 80 lakh. His aggregate turnover would be 170 lakh because turnover includes even an exempt supply. Can he opt for composition levy scheme? Suppose he is in Tamil Nadu. No. Why? 80 plus 90 is 170 lakh which is more than 1.5 crores or 150 lakhs. He cannot opt for composition levy scheme. Suppose, okay, these are all going to give you some additional understanding, if you remember. Say, Mr. Raju is running a petrol pump. In the petrol pump, he is supplying petrol, diesel. Also, he is supplying engine oil. What is special about petrol, diesel in GST? Is it taxable or non-taxable or exempt? What is the understanding that you have for petrol, diesel? Taxable or non-taxable? I want answers on the chat box. So there is a product. So you can see that I have written something called as HP man. This is the code word that we use in our classes to understand which are non-taxable product. Okay. What is HP man? Let's expand HP man. H stands for high speed diesel. Okay. So this is the code word that we use for understanding which are the product which are non-taxable. H stands for high speed diesel. P stands for petroleum crude or petrol. M stands for other motor spirit like speed. There are multiple X95. There are multiple products that is also other fuel. Then A stands for aviation turbine fuel, or we call it as ATF. It is a flight fuel. N stands for natural gas, or we call it as CNG. Okay. So H is high speed diesel, P is petrol, other motor spirit, aviation turbine fuel, natural gas. The special thing about these products is that for the time being, these products are not subject to GST. The provision in GST says that these products will be subject to GST from a future notified date. So we call these products a non-taxable product. However, while computing aggregate turnover for checking composition levy scheme or for registration, you should include this also into the aggregate turnover computation. Now, suppose Mr. Raju is having a petrol pump, also supplies engine oil. Now, engine oil has a turnover of 20 lakh and petrol diesel has a turnover of 2 crore. The aggregate turnover of Raju is considered to be 2 crore 20 lakhs. Now, Raju is anyway not eligible for composition levy scheme because he is making non-taxable supply. We will discuss that later. Then, look at this. Say, Mr. Raju is actually having a company which is manufacturing chocolates. Now, he sold chocolates worth 140 lakhs in last year. He was under normal scheme, not composition. So, he collected GST from the customer around 20 lakh. So, he totally collected 160 lakh from the customer. Value is 140 lakh, 20 lakh GST. This is a cashew based chocolate. So, he purchased raw cashew not shelled or peeled, from the farmers. So, when somebody is purchasing raw cashew from the farmers, they are liable to pay tax under reverse charge. Okay. So, this is one case of RCM for goods. Anyway, RCM for goods is not part of intermediate syllabus. So, you don't have to bother too much, but understand this is an example of it. So, when he purchased, suppose he purchased cashew, you can see it on the example here, he purchased cashew worth 50 lakh. He paid GST under RCM for 10 lakh. What will be his aggregate turnover? Question number 1. Would the sale value be part of his aggregate turnover? Yes. Would GST be part of his aggregate turnover? No. Whether purchase of cashew where he paid tax under RCM be part of his aggregate turnover? No. Because aggregate turnover excludes two things. One is GST, another is inward supply even if it's taxed under RCM. So his aggregate turnover would only be 140 lakh, which is less than 150 lakh. So is he eligible for composition levy scheme? Yes. Because turnover limit is 150 lakhs or 1.5 crores. Now look at this as an additional example. Say, Mr. Raju is having two businesses. Okay, so to understand this, you should slightly understand composition levy scheme also. But I will, since I'm discussing aggregate turnover, I will overall touch upon both of the points. This I have written there as a note also already. Say, Mr. Raju is supplying goods which is mobile phone and he made a turnover of 140 lakh. He is also acting as a recovery agent for Axis Bank. So when somebody is operating as a recovery agent, now the tax on the commission paid to recovery agent is paid by the bank under reverse charge mechanism. There is a provision that we have under RCM which says that if I am a recovery agent who is recovering loan on behalf of bank and the bank is giving me commission, the GST is paid by the bank under reverse charge. Okay, so Raju got how much money from his customers? Number one, from the customers when he's selling the mobile phones, he got 140 lakh as the value. He also received 20 lakh from Axis Bank because he provided SOS. SOS is supply of service. To whom? To Axis Bank. In what capacity? Recovery agent. Now, this 20 lakh is subject to tax under RCM. So, Axis Bank paid taxes. What will be the aggregate turnover of Raju? Will it be 160 lakh or will it be 140 lakh? Question is this: whether this 20 lakh will be included in the aggregate turnover of Raju, or would it be included in the aggregate turnover of Axis Bank? It will be included in the aggregate turnover of Raju. That's your understanding. That's what I have written here. Look at the note that you can see on the screen. Turnover under RCM. Okay, even if sometimes tax is paid under reverse charge mechanism, it is included in the hands of supplier and not the recipient. Is it clear? So, even if, say, I provided some goods or services to a customer. Now, customer pays tax under RCM, but still, it's whose turnover? It's my turnover. Are you guys understanding this? Is it clear? Can I have a quick thumbs up if it's clear? So, the turnover under RCM will still be included in the supplies, to aggregate turnover. Then, I've written something more. Order 1/2019 I have written. Let's read. While calculating aggregate turnover to check. Yeah, so Shravan has put it across as a word also. So, Order 1/2019 says, while calculating aggregate turnover to check eligibility of composition levy scheme, exempt supplies by way of interest or discount income need not to be included. I'll come back to that as a exam tip. I'll give you an understanding when I summarize. So I've written another point here, which is important again to look at. Suppose somebody has opted for composition levy scheme. Will reverse charge be applicable to somebody who has opted for composition levy scheme? I've written a note. Let's read the note and then I will take you through an example. 9.3 and 9.4 will be applicable to CLS unless specifically excluded. Yeah. Which means what? Carefully listen to me on an example here. Say there's a party who has opted for composition levy scheme. There's a supplier who has opted for composition levy scheme. When he is making outward supply, if he's a manufacturer or he's a trader, what is the tax rate that will be applicable to him? 1%. When he's making supply to customer. Suppose he's making an inward supply and his supplier, this fellow has not opted for composition, he is under normal scheme. What will be the tax rate applicable? Will it be 1% or normal rate? It will be normal rate. So if he is opting for composition levy scheme, what supply will become at 1%? His outward supply. Whatever supply he makes to the customer will be taxed at 1%. Not his purchases. His purchase will be taxed at normal, whatever 18%, 28%, whatever may be the rate. Suppose this inward supply is under RCM. Now this composition levy scheme fellow will have to pay tax under RCM, right? He will pay under what rate? Whatever may be the RCM rate. But only in one case he will not have RCM applicable. There is one case where it is excluded from RCM. What is that case? Look at this. Suppose there is a supplier. He is supplying goods or services and it is taxable under RCM, and recipient has opted for composition levy scheme. And recipient will be liable to pay GST under RCM except for security service. In security service, they have specifically mentioned a point which says that if the recipient is under composition levy scheme, it will be taxed under FCM. Are you guys understanding this particular point? So That is why they have mentioned the word specifically, unless specifically excluded. There is only one case where it is specifically excluded, saying that if the, okay, I'll give you an example for that also. Okay, just quick one example. Okay. So let's look at security service. Here security service means supply of security personnel. Okay. There is this Mr. Gopal who's running an agency. He's a sole proprietor, runs an agency which is supplying security personnel. It is supplied to a trader. Is this trader registered? Yes. But is this trader opted for composition levy scheme? Yes. Normally, when the trader is registered, the trader will pay tax under RCM. Because this fellow is under composition levy scheme, RCM will not be applicable here. Because he is under composition levy scheme, he is excluded from RCM. So who will pay? The trader will pay value plus GST to Mr. Gopal itself. Now, Mr. Gopal will pay tax under forward charge mechanism. He is the supplier. This will be the structure. Suppose for one security fellow, he is charging 50,000. So he will pay 50,000 plus GST of say 18%. Now this fellow will pay this 18% to the government, not under RCM. Are you guys understanding the structure? This is only case where it is excluded. All other cases, an CLS person also should pay tax under RCM under normal rate because it's his inward supply. Is it clear? Can I have a quick thumbs up if this is clear? Okay. Let's move to the next point. I told you there are 5 points for us to learn. So we have done 2 points. Now the third point is very simple for us to look at. Condition. There are 4 conditions that you need to satisfy if you are under composition levy scheme. It's a simple way of understanding this. Number 1, supplier cannot collect tax on supply from recipient. Number 2, supplier is not eligible for ITC on inward supply. Number 3, supplier is not allowed to make interstate outward supply. Number 4, supplier cannot choose composition levy scheme business segment or vertical wise. Let's look at each of them. First, you cannot collect this 1% from the customer. So I'm under composition levy scheme. I am supplying a mobile phone for 10,000 rupees. I'm a trader. What will be the tax rate applicable to me if I'm under composition levy scheme? It will be 1%. So on 10,000, I'll have to just pay to the government 100 rupees. Can I collect from the customer 10,100? No. Government is saying, because you opted for composition levy scheme, I'm taking all the losses. Now this 1% don't get it from the customer. That you have to pay from your pocket. Are you guys understanding? So if you are under composition levy scheme, whatever taxes that you pay is reduced to 1%. That 1% you can't get it from the customer. Normally, normal person will add GST from the customer in the bill and then collect it. So this cannot be done. So my next question connected to this would be, what document will be issued by the composition levy scheme person? I cannot issue tax invoice. Why? I cannot charge a tax on the bill. So what document will be issued? Somebody from online, can you comment? What document will it be? Will it be the same tax invoice? No. Tax invoice generally would contain what? GST inside that document. You cannot collect that. So there is an additional document called as bill of supply. Perfect. In this bill of supply, you will have a endorsement saying that you are a composition taxable person. That's why you did not collect this 1% from the customer. You have to mention that in that document itself. So the document will be bill of supply. Then supplier is not eligible for ITC on the inward supply. That is obvious. We can expect because government is not collecting normal taxes when you make a supply. So government do not want to give you any ITC on your purchase. So if you are a composition person, you make a purchase, whatever tax you paid will be forming part of your cost. Say, I'm under composition levy scheme. I purchased my mobile phone to sell. I purchased the mobile phone for 5,000, paid 900 rupees GST. My cost would be 5,900 because I can't take any ITC on my purchases. Then, supplier is not allowed to make any interstate outward supply. Should be very careful here. It is only outward supply. They're saying that if you're under composition levy scheme, you cannot make any interstate sale, because if it is interstate sale, the loss will be to consuming state, and I don't want that. So who can opt for composition levy scheme? Only those people who are supplying within the state. That's your memory. Say I'm somebody who's selling from Tamil Nadu to Karnataka, Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai. Can I opt for composition levy scheme? My turnover is less than 1.5 crore. Can I do that? No, because I'm making interstate outward supply. Say I suppose I'm a supermarket, I sell only within Tamil Nadu, but I purchase from other state. Can I opt for composition levy scheme? Yes. Why? Interstate outward supply is not allowed, but inward supply are allowed. That is your understanding. Shravan has written about consolidation. That is not how you should understand it. Slightly different. I'll tell you that later in the invoice chapter. Okay. Then, supplier cannot choose composition levy scheme. Okay. So, supplier is not allowed to make interstate outward supply. Interstate inward supply is allowed. Purchases are okay. Sale is a problem. Supplier cannot choose composition levy scheme business segment or vertical wise, which means that I have two branches, one in Chennai, another in Bangalore. I want to opt for composition. See, both I am making only intrastate supply. From Chennai, I will only make supply within Tamil Nadu. From Bangalore, I only make supply within Karnataka. I want to opt for composition levy. See, my total turnover is less than 1.5 crores. Can I opt for composition levy scheme? Yes. But I have only two options. Either go for composition levy scheme for both of these branches, or don't go for composition levy scheme for both of these branches. What cannot be done? I want composition for Chennai branch, I want normal scheme for Bangalore branch. Is that allowed? That will not be allowed. That is what is the meaning of supplier cannot choose composition levy scheme business segment or vertical wise. Choices for a PAN level. What is not the choice? Can you choose this GST-IN wise? No, you cannot choose composition levy scheme GST-IN wise. What do you mean by PAN wise? Because under one PAN, if I have one branch in Chennai, another branch in Bangalore, what I would have done? I would have taken one GST number for Tamil Nadu, one GST number for Karnataka. I have to go for composition levy scheme for both of these branches, because both of these registration will be under my PAN, under single PAN, both registration should be under composition. That's your understanding. So these are the four people who, these are the four conditions that you need to satisfy if you are opting for composition levy scheme. Then, fourth point, this is important. I told you that there are 5 points we have to learn. In that 3 points we have already learned. What are the 3 points that we have learned? Advantages, eligibility criteria, and condition to be satisfied. Right? Now we are going into the fourth point, which is persons who cannot opt for composition levy scheme even if their turnover is within the limit. We can call these people as blocked from going for composition levy scheme. There are 7 people. Out of that, 2 of them happen to be a 2023 amendment. So both of them would be important for you. Following 7 people will not be eligible to go for composition levy scheme even if their turnover is less than the limit. First one, casual taxable person. Second one, non-resident taxable person. We basically can understand both of them together and get an understanding. So let me ask you a question. Okay. So I want your answer to be with thumbs up and thumbs down. Okay. Shall we learn what is composition levy scheme? What is CTP and NRTP? What is CTP? It will be casual taxable person. NRTP is non-resident taxable person. So I'm going to teach you CTP, NRTP here itself. Okay. So, but with yes or no. Okay. For online people would do yes or no. Okay. Whoever is physically sitting, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. First question. So the first set of question is relating to casual taxable person. Question number 1. Is casual taxable person a resident in India? Is he a resident in India or not a resident? Is a resident in India. Correct. Question number 2. Is he doing business somewhere in India? Is he doing business somewhere in India? Yes, he is doing business somewhere in India. Now, is he planning to come to a new state or union territory to do the business? Is he planning to come to a new state or union territory to do the business? Yes. So, he's a resident doing business somewhere and he's coming to a new state to do business. Now, in this new state, is he planning to do a permanent business or occasional business? Permanent business or occasional business? What business is it? Occasional business. He is coming for a temporary business. In that case, we will take a registration called as casual taxable person registration. It comes with a feature called as expiry of registration. Up to how many days he can take registration? He can take registration up to 90 days. Right? When I say 90 days, it does not mean all the registration will be to 90 days. It says number of days that you mention in the registration form or 90 days, whichever is earlier or whichever is lower. That will be the registration. So I can take for 5 days, 10 days, but I can only take for 90 days. Can I extend it further? Yes. For another period up to 90 days, I can extend it. So max, initially I had applied for 90, another extension 90, max 180. Are you guys understanding? This is the casual taxable person. They said, say, look at me as an example. Okay, so you were putting me as an example. Say I'm currently located in Kochi, Kerala. I'm coming to Chennai to do business for few days. Right? I'm coming to Chennai to do business for few days, wherein I have a physical location. Okay, that's when the concept of casual taxable person comes in. I'm coming for an exhibition for few days. Now, I am going to take a special registration in Tamil Nadu called as casual taxable person registration for 10 days I have taken. Now, my next question you should think is, should Tamil Nadu government support me by giving me a composition levy scheme? No. Why? In Tamil Nadu, I'm only there for few days. Tamil Nadu government say, why should I take all your losses? So they said, casual taxable person cannot opt for composition levy scheme. Is that clear? They said, you're not permanent in my state. I will not give you the benefit of composition levy scheme. So CTP cannot opt for composition levy scheme. Is that clear? Can I have one thumbs up? Is clear? Okay. Second, NRTP. So shall we start the same question answer for NRTP also? So while registering, you cannot, so Aishwarya has asked a question, can the days mentioned in while registering exceed 180 days? You cannot go beyond 90 days while registering. The other 90 is an extension. Initial is 90 days. Then NRTP. I'm asking the same question for NRTP. First question I'm repeating. So thumbs up, thumbs down. Huh? First question would be, is he a resident? NRTP. No, he's non-resident. NR, non-resident, right? So that's a no answer. Is he having business somewhere in India? Is he having business somewhere in India? No, he's a non-resident, not having business anywhere in India. Now, is he coming to India? Yes. Is he coming to India to do permanent business or occasional business? Occasional business for few days. So in that case, he will take what registration? NRTP registration. Same logic. It will also come with a expiry of 90 days, extension 90 days, same thing. Now you think about somebody coming from Dubai to Tamil Nadu to do 5 days business. Should Tamil Nadu government take all the losses and then give him the benefit of composition levy scheme? Not required. So who cannot also opt for composition levy scheme? NRTP cannot opt for composition levy scheme even if their turnover is less than the threshold limit. Say their turnover in the last year happened to be 50 lakh. But they have taken a special registration called CTP or NRTP. Can they opt for composition? No. This is your answer. Now look at the third person. Person supplying goods or service through e-commerce operator was the previous wordings. Now you can see that I have scrolled down goods and said person supplying goods through e-commerce operator can now opt for composition levy scheme. What is the meaning of this? Give me an example of e-commerce operator here. Here e-commerce operator example would be like Amazon. E-commerce operator liable for TCS. Okay, so they're saying that if you are a supplier of goods who's supplying through Amazon till 1st of October 2023, you could not opt for composition levy scheme. After 1st October 2023, you can opt or you cannot opt. Can now opt. So I am somebody who is registered as a seller in Amazon. You know, in Amazon, we have sellers and buyers. Okay, so we all are registered to buy product in Amazon. But if you have a shop, no, you can register as a seller on Amazon. So you registered as a seller in Amazon and your turnover happened to be less than 1.5 crores. Can you opt for composition levy scheme before 1st October 2023? No. After 1st October 2023, yes. Then why government did not allow them to do? Because if you are registered as a seller in Amazon, you will sell all over India. But if you are under composition levy scheme, you should not make what supply? You should not make any interstate supply. So they said people who are registered on Amazon should not, or people who are selling on Amazon should not opt for composition levy scheme. Then what change did they make? On 1st October 2023, they came and said, see, Amazon, you do one thing. You restrict them from making interstate supply. Can Amazon restrict some seller from making interstate supply? Yes. So if you have a seller who's under composition levy scheme, okay, I'm a seller under composition levy scheme, for example, and I am selling from Kerala. Okay, so if I'm under composition levy scheme, where should I sell? I should sell only within Kerala. Now you from Chennai is searching in Amazon to buy a product which is also sold by me. Now, when you search the product, you saw me as a seller. I am cheapest price is given by me. Okay, say mobile phone. When you selected me, Amazon would say that this seller is not servicing at your location. Have you seen in Amazon? Sometimes this particular product is not serviceable. When you put the PIN number, they would say we will not deliver there. Have you seen some sellers are not allowed to sell there? So likewise, Amazon, what they have to do, if there is a composition levy scheme person, Amazon should restrict them from making interstate supply. Are you guys understanding? So you can see I have put 3 conditions to be satisfied by them. So you can understand this condition like this. E-commerce operator, electronic commerce operator shall not allow any interstate supply of goods through it by the said person. Second condition, e-commerce operators should do tax collected at source. What they have to do? TCS on the supply that they make. Third, they have to report this information in a form called as GSTR 8. In a return called GSTR 8, they have to mention this information and then give the details to the government. So 3 conditions they have to satisfy. They put it like that. So what is your one-line summary for this understanding? Today, as of today, if you are a composition levy scheme person, can you sell on Amazon or you cannot sell on Amazon? You can sell on Amazon. Provided you make only intrastate supply, Amazon will do TCS and they will report your information in GSTR 8. Is it clear? Is it clear, everyone? Yeah, so 3 conditions to be satisfied. They can go for people who are under composition levy scheme can sell on e-commerce operator. Then manufacturers of following product cannot opt for composition levy scheme. See, I have written something very specific here, not to traders. They test this in the examination multiple times. Let's read this. I call this as, there are 5 type of products that is mentioned. If you are a manufacturer of this product, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme. For these 5 products, first 3 products are called as PTI, pan masala, tobacco, ice cream. Fourth is aerated waters, like your Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Thumbs Up. If you are manufacturing this product, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme because your tax rate is really high. So I don't want, government says, I don't want to help you guys. Okay, you guys have been, levied maximum taxes. I don't want to help you guys. So you end up paying tax under normal rate only. Then the 5th one is bricks and blocks. Because you are supplying to real estate and real estate has having certain extra provision in GST, they said, if you're supplying bricks and blocks, now I have written bricks and blocks here, but in the textbook you would have understood it like this. can see the products here. Pan masala, ice cream, tobacco, these three, PTI. Aerated waters. Bricks and blocks is these four. If you are manufacturers of this product, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme. What are these products? Fly ash bricks, fly ash aggregate, or fly ash blocks. Okay, all your fly ashes which are made it into blocks or aggregate by thermal power plant. If you are supplying that, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme. Your manufacturer of bricks of fossil meals, building bricks, earthen or roofing tiles. So you have to, for you to remember, I have given an easy word called bricks and blocks. If you are a manufacturer of bricks and blocks, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme. In an exam, they've asked 2 marks question. When this amendment came in, they came up in the examination and then they asked a question. Now they're not going to ask you that, not going to be important. But this part they will ask. Question: a supermarket supplying tobacco and pan masala, can they opt for composition levy scheme? Yes or no? PTI is a short form for pan masala tobacco ice cream. Okay. Can they opt for composition levy scheme? Yes or no? Yes. Why? They are a trader. Who cannot opt? Manufacturer. Always remember this. Right? So in the multiple examination, they'll give you trader and then test you. The moment and your eyes would go get stuck into pan masala tobacco ice cream. It will not look at manufacturer and trader and you will make a mistake. So ensure that you understand it properly. Then fifth person not eligible for composition levy scheme is person making non-taxable supply. Say if you are supplying, there are two supplies that I've listed as non-taxable. What are the non-taxable supply? ALHC. What is ALHC? Alcoholic liquor for human consumption. I've written alcoholic liquor for human consumption. It is a non-taxable supply. If you supply that, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme, which means if you're a restaurant with a bar attached, you're supplying alcohol also, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme. Similarly, HP man. Okay. High-speed diesel, petroleum crude, motor spirit, aviation turbine fuel, natural gas. If you're supplying HP man product also, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme. So a petrol pump, even if their turnover happened to be less than 1.5 crores, they cannot opt for composition levy scheme. Then, sixth one, supplier of service other than restaurants cannot opt for composition levy scheme. In services, only restaurants can opt for composition levy scheme, others cannot. Then, registered person dealing in specified actionable claims. This definition was introduced in 2023. 6 actionable claims are considered to be specified actionable claim. They are treated as goods in GST and taxed at a rate of 28%. So they said if you're dealing with the 6 specified actionable claims, you cannot opt for composition levy scheme. What are these specified actionable claims? Look at the list here. All demerited activities: betting, gambling, lottery. These were the 3 specified actionable claims we had earlier. Then they have added casinos, horse racing, online money gaming. These 6 activities, if you are doing, can you opt for composition levy scheme? No, the government said, hey, I want 28%. That's why I called it as specified actionable claim. Now, what are you doing? You are trying to take the benefit of composition levy scheme. I will not allow that. Are you guys understanding this? Is it clear? Can I have a thumbs up? Okay. Let's go ahead and then look at an additional topic there. So this point, so out of 5 points, I said there are 5 points. How many points we have finished? 4 points we have finished. Advantages, eligibility criteria, condition, person not eligible. Now we have procedure. Before that, there are 2 special areas that we have to discuss. I'm going to do that with a small example to ensure that you understand it in full. Look at this example on the screen. Mr. Raju and Mr. Rahim, both of them are running mobile shop. Raju is purely trading in mobile phone, has a turnover of 90 lakhs. Suppose he is in Ritchie Street. Okay, a lot of mobile phone shops, right? Two opposite shop. Raju's turnover fully mobile phone trading 90 lakh. Can he offer composition levy scheme? Yes, his turnover is less than 1.5 crores. He's happy. He's just paying 1% on his sale. Wherein Mr. Rahim has a turnover of only 45 lakhs from mobile phone trading. And what Rahim has done is that to ensure that he gets a little more turnover, Rahim started in his shop. On the side of his shop, there is a small, table that he has given to a additional person. What he does is that this fellow basically does mobile phone repair and servicing on the side. He makes an overall 3 lakh rupees additional turnover because of mobile phone servicing. The total turnover of Rahim happened to be only 48 lakhs. Surprisingly, Rahim will not be able to opt for composition levy scheme because he has a 3 lakh service other than restaurant. Because the existing provision that was saying in the person not eligible, we had a sixth point which says that in services only restaurant can offer composition levy scheme. Now this is a quite unfair scenario because Mr. Rahim is not purely a service provider. His main activity is trading in mobile phones only. And at the same time, Mr. Raju has more turnover, almost double turnover, still able to opt for composition levy scheme. To avoid this scenario, government has come up with an additional relaxation, inserting a proviso into section 10, and they said, we will allow such persons who are supplying goods or who are running a restaurant to provide another service to a small level. Here, this fellow has only 3 lakh service and I don't want him to not go for composition levy scheme because of a small portion of service. To avoid this scenario, they said, I will allow you to provide a small service or a marginal service. How much a service can be provided and still opted for composition levy scheme? They put a limit saying like this. Your service portion service other than restaurant has to be 5 lakh or 10% of your turnover, whichever is higher. What is the limit that they have kept? They said you can have a service turnover of 5 lakh or 10% of turnover, whichever is higher. Now, what is the turnover of Rahim in this example? What is the turnover of Rahim in this example? 48 lakh. What is 10% of 48 lakhs? 4.8 lakhs or 5 lakh. Which is higher? 5 lakh is higher. So Rahim can have turnover of service up to 5 lakh and still opt for composition levy scheme. What is the, in our example, how much is the service turnover of Rahim? Only 3 lakh. So you tell me, is Rahim allowed to opt for composition levy scheme even if he has a service turnover of 3 lakh? Yes or no? Yes, he is allowed. Okay. This is what is given in the additional provision of marginal service scheme, I call it. Let's look at the wordings. You can read it from our books now so that you get a little more understanding. Composition levy scheme eligibility for supplier of goods or restaurants with another marginal service. 10.1 proviso read with 10.2a. Supplier of goods, that is manufacturer or trader, or supplier of restaurants can opt for composition levy scheme even if they provide another service other than restaurants, provided value of such other service is less than higher of the following limits. Number 1, 10% of turnover in a state or union territory in the preceding financial year or 5 lakh. This can also be understood as in another wordings. I'll tell you another wordings to understand the same concept. Okay. So you look at 5 lakh or 10% is what they have used. So we can say like this. If my turnover is up to, last year turnover is up to 50 lakh. How much service can be allowed? 5 lakh. Why? If my turnover is 30 lakh, 10% of 30 lakhs is 3 lakh or 5 lakh, which is higher? 5 lakh is higher. If my turnover is more than 50 lakh, say my turnover is 75 lakh, so which will be higher? 10% will be higher. 7.5 lakhs or 5 lakh, which is higher? 7.5 lakhs. Are you guys understanding? So we can simply put it like this. So even if you are somebody who is doing supply of goods or you're a restaurant, which means you're otherwise eligible, you can provide service other than restaurant to a small amount. How much? If your turnover is up to 50 lakh, 5 lakh service is allowed. Turnover is above 50 lakhs, less than 1.5 crores, you can do 10% of your turnover as service. Is it clear, all of you? Is it clear? Can I have a thumbs up? Okay. Then, an important examination tip I'm going to give you now. you can see that I have written a note here. This can also be tested. Final level, this is frequently tested, but inter also they can ask you a question on, while calculating value of services above, exempt service by way of interest or discount income need not to be included. One of you asked me that question earlier to me when I gave you this example of Bajaj Finserv. You remember that example of Bajaj Finserv, MyG and EMI scheme? You remember that example that I have given you on circular clarification on EMI scheme? What did I tell you when Bajaj Finserv is collecting interest? Is it taxable or is it exempt? I said it is exempt. What did I teach you when I taught you the definition of aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover includes exempt supply or excludes exempt supply? It includes exempt supply. There are four things included: taxable supply, exempt supply, interstate supply, export, right? So you basically have to include your exempt supply also into the aggregate turnover. Are you guys understanding the structure? Right? However, composition levy scheme computation, just for this computation, don't include interest into the turnover anywhere. Let me show you that as an examination tip. I'll let you take a photo of that as well. Very important examination tip for you to remember. Okay, let me read it for you. So normally I have written whatever I have already taught you. I have written that into a chart format. Okay, so consolidating every point. Interest on deposits or loans or advances is an exempt supply of service. So therefore, GST is not payable on the same. The next question is use of interest turnover in computing aggregate turnover. Normally, exempt supply is included in aggregate turnover. So we should naturally include, but we will use aggregate turnover in two computation. One is to compute, so we will compute aggregate turnover for checking eligibility of composition as well as to check whether I should register. So while computing aggregate turnover for registration THL threshold limit, interest is included. We should add interest also, exempt interest also into the turnover. However, for any computation for composition levy scheme, interest is excluded. Don't include. This is what you should remember for the exam. To give you an example, I'm going to put a very important example. Just that I have put the example in picture format. Don't underestimate this example. It's a good example question to look at. I'm taking you through that full so that you understand whatever I've discussed so far. It should be easily understandable for you. Okay, let me take you through the example. I've erased the answers, so let's see whether you're getting the answers or not. Okay. Mr. Raju has like 4 businesses. Number one, he's into mobile trading. Turnover happened to be 85 lakh. Number two, he is supplying fresh vegetables, which is an exempt turnover 60 lakh. Number three, he is running a preschool. Okay, and his turnover happened to be 5 lakh, and preschool till higher secondary in GST is exempt as well. Then number four, he is providing loan to people, and turnover happened to be 15 lakh. Right? So this is the 4 businesses that he's doing. I need you to answer the following questions. Question number one: what is the aggregate turnover of Mr. Raju? I can give you 4 options. You pick the correct option in that. Option number one, it is 85 lakh. Option number two, it is 145 lakhs. Option three, it is 150 lakh. Option four, 165 lakh. So you can option 1, 2, 3, 4. Which option is correct? I basically have added all of them. 85, 145, 150, 165. What is the correct answer? Aggregate turnover. What is your definition of aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover includes four things: taxable supply, exempt supply, interstate supply, export. It excludes GST and cess. It excludes inward supply even if it's taxed under reverse charge. This is your understanding? Now you have to tell me what's your aggregate turnover in this case. It is 150 lakhs. I'll tell you why. Okay, it's 150 lakhs. Normally, I would include mobile trading turnover, it's taxable. I would include fresh vegetables, it's exempted. I would include preschool because it's exempt. Exempt also is part of turnover. I would also include loan services because that's exempt. A loan service interest income, that is also exempt. I'll include everything. But what is that we have just took a photo of? We said, why are we computing aggregate turnover here? We are computing aggregate turnover to check eligibility of composition levy scheme. And what is that we have learned about composition levy scheme? We said, while computing aggregate turnover for composition levy scheme, what need not to be included? Interest need not to be included. So no computation for composition levy scheme, you would include interest. So 85 we will include 60, we would include 5, but we will not include 15. Are you guys understanding why I'm excluding interest? So all the computation for composition levy scheme exclude interest. So 150 lakh is your correct answer. Now next question would be, are they eligible for, suppose Mr. Raju is located in Tamil Nadu. What will be the threshold limit that is applicable for Raju? 1.5 crores. Turnover is also 1.5 crores. Is he eligible for composition levy scheme? Can I immediately take a decision, or should I check the service turnover? Is he providing goods and service? Goods and service. In service, what is only service he is allowed to do? Restaurant. Is he doing restaurant or other than restaurant? He's doing other than restaurant. He's doing preschool. He's giving loan service. Then, if he's providing service, his service portion has to be within the marginal service limit. Right? His service has to be within the marginal service limit. What is the marginal service limit here? Turnover is 150 lakh. How much service is allowed? 10%. How much is 10% of 150 lakh? It is 15 lakh. How much is this service that he is providing? How much is the value of service? I will give you an option. Okay. Option A. Here also carefully listen to the option and then choose. Okay. Option A, my service value is 5 lakh. Option B, my service value is 15 lakh. Option C, my service value is 20 lakh, because there is a preschool service, there is a loan service. 20 lakh put together. 1, 5, 2 is 15, 3 is 20. Which is the correct answer that you are choosing? 1, 2, 3. Which one? You can choose. You have to show me the gesture. 1, 2, 3. 1. That is the correct answer. It is 5 lakh. Why? I told you in that summary, any computation, again this computation also, to check how much is the value of service also, what is not to be included? Interest need not to be included. Look at the second question here. Assuming Raju is located in Delhi or Tamil Nadu, general state, what is the marginal service limit applicable to Raju? 15 lakh. What is the value of, question B, what is the value of service for the above limit? 5 lakh. I've written something in red color. For this computation, interest is excluded from value. So my next question is his turnover within the limit? Yes. Is his service within the marginal service limit? Yes. Next question would be, is he eligible to opt for composition levy scheme? Yes or no? Is he eligible? Yes, he is eligible, because his, look at this, his aggregate turnover is less than 1.5 crores. Okay, his marginal service value is 5 lakh, which is less than or equal to 15 lakh. So both of them are satisfied. So Raju is eligible for composition levy scheme. This can be a case study question. Third question, I have added an additional question for you. Let's see whether you are able to answer. Assuming Raju opted for composition levy scheme, compute composition tax liability for the turnover given in the question. Let's assume this Raju has opted for composition and the same turnover Raju has. How much will be his composition tax liability? First, we should look at whether he is a manufacturer, trader, or restaurant. What category we will fall him under? He will fall under which category? Trader, what will be his turnover? What will be his composition levy scheme tax rate? 1% on what turnover? Full turnover or taxable turnover? Trader will only pay on the taxable turnover. What is this taxable turnover? Fresh vegetable is exempt, preschool is exempt, loan is exempt, so only 85 lakh. So he will pay 1% on 85 lakh, which will be 85,000. You guys understanding? So this one question answers for a different segment of separate questions. Are you guys understanding this? Is this case study clear to all of you? Full clear? Okay, perfect. Then, see, even after marginal service scheme, is there anybody who cannot opt for composition levy scheme? Yes. There are two people who cannot opt for composition levy scheme even after the marginal service scheme. Who are these people? Look at the screen, and then I have written two type of people who cannot opt for composition levy scheme. One is supplier of service other than restaurant. This marginal service scheme is for people who are supplier of goods or restaurant who's having small service. What if I'm a CA firm? What if I'm an IT company? I'm purely providing service only. Will I be getting this particular option to go for composition levy scheme with this marginal service scheme? No. Okay, so pure service provider still not having any scheme. Then number two, what if somebody is having goods and service is beyond the marginal service limit? Okay, my service value is 25 lakh, goods value is 25 lakh, total 50 lakh. If my turnover is 50 lakh, my service has to be 5 lakh or less. Then only I can opt for composition. What if it is more than 5 lakh? So these kind of people cannot opt for composition levy scheme. Person who are still not eligible, these people went back to the GST council and cried, I also want a scheme. You said one nation, one tax, one scheme. Where is my scheme? You gave the scheme to the goods only. For these people, they came up with an additional scheme. Initially, it came as notification 2/2019, later introduced inside the section, introduced as a subsection after subsection 2 before subsection 3. To have a subsection after subsection 2 before subsection 3, what will be that subsection called as? 2 capital A. So we call this scheme also as scheme under section 10 2 capital A. That is our next reading. We will look at the scheme in comparison with the scheme that we have already understood. Look at this. Special scheme for payment of concessional rate of GST for supplier of service. Section 10 2 capital A is the name that we call it. The scheme is available for whom? For those people who could not opt for composition levy scheme for two reasons. Reason number one, they are a pure supplier of service and they are not restaurant. Number two, they have goods and service is beyond the limit. For these people, there is a scheme provided. It's again an option. Okay, it is also an option, provided one more condition to be satisfied. What is that condition? You look at aggregate turnover in the previous year has to be less than or equal to 50 lakh. What was the limit for composition levy scheme? It used to be 1.5 and 75 lakhs, but here the limit is 50 lakhs. It should be less than or equal to 50 lakhs. Now, there are a few points that we have to understand here. Quickly, let's discuss. The composition levy scheme used to be 1% and 5%. But this scheme, if you go for, you will get to pay taxes at 6%. If it is CGST, SGST, what will be the tax rate? 3%, 3%. In total, GST would be 6%. If it is IGST, what will be the tax rate for 10(2)A? What if it's IGST? You should not answer that because it can never be IGST, because condition for this is same as composition levy scheme, and one condition in composition levy scheme says you cannot make any interstate supply. So can it be 6% IGST if you are under the scheme? No, it can only be CGST and SGST. So look at it, up to 50 lakh turnover. Last year turnover has to be less than 50 lakh. This year up to 50 lakhs. If I go for the scheme, I will end up paying tax at 6%. You look at it. Now carefully, little extra understanding I'm going to give, okay? So carefully listen to me. Normally, if you are a service provider, up to what turnover you don't need to even register under GST. For services, what is the threshold limit for registration? It is 20 lakh. So I can say like this, you start your service business. Up to 20 lakh, what you don't need to do? You need not even register. Now, after registering from 20 to 50, you have another option. What is it? 10 to A. You can pay 6%. Beyond 50 lakh, you will end up paying what percent? Normal tax rate. This is how you should remember it. Is it clear? Can I have another thumbs up if it's clear to you? 20, 50, above 50, normal rate. This is how you should remember. Then, condition is same as composition levy scheme. I'm recapping all the 4 conditions. Number 1, this 6% you cannot get it from the customer. Number 2, you cannot take any ITC if you are under 10 to A. Number 3, you cannot make any interstate outward supply. Number 4, you cannot choose this business vertical wise. Your choice is on a PAN level. Person not eligible. Whoever could not opt for composition levy scheme, these people are disallowed from opting this scheme as well. Let's go back to composition levy scheme, person not eligible. Look at this. Number 1, can a casual taxable NRTP, can they opt for 10 to A? No. Person supplying service through e-commerce operator, can they opt for 10 to A? No. Manufacturers of PTI, aerated water, bricks and blocks cannot opt for 10 to A also. Person supplying non-taxable supply also cannot opt for 10 to A. Registered person dealing in specified actionable claims also cannot opt for 10 to A. What about supplier of service other than restaurants? They can. For them only the scheme came. So except the 6th fellow, all other fellows cannot opt for 10 to A also. This is how you should remember. Are you guys understanding this? Then one special point. Now 50 lakh I have to check. No, I have to check last year turnover has to be less than or equal to 50 lakh. Then only they can go for this. Now this 50 lakh while computing, should I include interest? No. Why? Any computation for section 10, 10 or 10 to A, whatever it is, any computation you do for section 10, don't include interest. That's what I've written as point number 1. Interest or discount income not included in aggregate turnover. Number 2, if the scheme is opted in the same year in which registration is obtained, turnover till registration no GST, registration to total financial year turnover up to 50 lakhs 6% GST, beyond 50 lakhs normal rate. I'll give you the special point with an example because they ask you a computational question in your exam. Onto the screen everyone. Mr. Raju is running Tony and Guy shop in Chennai. Tony and Guy is a hair salon. He's running that. He started his business on 1st July. What is that I told you? At the time he's starting his business, should he take GST registration immediately in services up to what turnover? He need not to take GST registration. 20 lakh. So Raju went on to do business up to 20 lakh till 31st October. From 1st July till October, turnover is 20 lakh. He did not take registration at all. How much GST he would have paid? Nil, because he's unregistered. Now, while he's taking registration, he opted for 10 to A. Because he cannot go for composition levy scheme because he's doing salon, a hairstyling service. But he can go for 10 to A. He went for 10 to A. Now he's asking this question to you. After taking registration from 31st October till another 50 lakh turnover, can he go for 6% GST payment? No. What is your understanding? First 20 lakhs also you should consider. So how much more he can do? How much more he can do? Another 30 lakh. Put together from 1st April total turnover up to 50 lakh he can do 10 to A. So which means up to first 20 lakhs, 0 GST paid because he's unregistered. From 20 lakh till 50 lakh, 30 lakh turnover, he will pay 3% CGST, 3% SGST, 90,000, 90,000. So from say by 31st of December, his turnover is 50 lakh. From there till his turnover is, whatever is your normal turnover, he will end up paying normal rate of 18%. Is it clear to all of you? This is what is the special point that we have. Understanding? Okay. So we have finished out of 5 points, 4 points. So let's go for the 5th and the last point for us, which is procedures. Yeah. So we are concluding our discussion on composition levy scheme very soon. So we are on the last side of understanding your section 10, which is procedure. Let's look at the procedure. I've already told you about the document. The document is bill of supply. Now let's look at other procedure. They said you have to put it on signboard that you're a composition taxable person so people can identify. Second one, when can I opt for composition levy scheme? Can I opt in the middle of an year? No. If you're already a registered person, you have to opt it before start of financial year, which means for financial year 25-26, we just started financial year 25-26 now. When they should have opted for this? They should have opted by 31st of March 2025. So by March 31st they had opted, they can go for the next year. But if you're somebody who's taking fresh registration, together with registration form, you can opt for composition levy scheme, both 10-2A and 10-1 and 2 normal scheme, normal composition levy scheme. Both of them can be opted together with registration form. So we can think like this: new registration anytime, all existing registration only if they opt before end of the financial year. Should I opt for composition levy scheme every year? Not required. You are, as long as you're satisfying the condition, you will continue. When will you withdraw? Two withdrawal. One is you can voluntarily withdraw. You can give an application, or if you are having any breach of condition, you will have to go out of composition levy scheme. You have to give an intimation within 7 days of not satisfying. Say your turnover crossed that particular limit, things like that. Then irregular availment, which means you were not eligible but you still took, then you will be liable for penalty. They will first collect. Say you paid 1 lakh rupees supply you made interstate, you paid only 1%. Can you do like that? No, because interstate you cannot go for composition levy scheme. Government will first collect full 18%. Then they will collect penalty on top of it. So that is what is the procedure that we have. What I'm going to do, before I close this area, I'm going to do one question. Shall we go for one question and then try to answer that? So I have answered a lot of questions. All the case studies are basically questions I have picked up from there. But one examination question we can look at. Let's see whether you are able to answer. So I have the soft copy of these notes and question bank and all. If you want to refer, you can go to tax school and then get those things. These are published ones, so I might not have, but the question bank is fully PDF available in the free resource. If you want to download it and use it, question alone, question answers, the question book is available on the website, but published ones would be only a purchase, but others will be available freely for you. Okay, look at the question. You can read it from the screen and then answer. Examine whether the following supplies are eligible for composition levy scheme in the following independent cases. Is there any other option available for concessional tax payment with any of these suppliers whenever composition levy scheme cannot be applied? Option A. Devlok, a registered dealer, is dealing in intrastate trading of electronic appliances in Jaipur, Rajasthan. It has a turnover of 130 lakh in the preceding financial year. In the current financial year, it has also started providing repair services for electronic appliances. Tell me whether Devlok would be eligible for composition levy scheme or not. So your question, you have to first check composition levy scheme, that 1%. If it's not available, you should check whether it's 6%. Now, first question, Jaipur, Rajasthan. What is the threshold limit for registration, threshold limit for composition levy scheme there? Rajasthan is in which category? General category. The limit would be what? 1.5 crores. What's the turnover of Devlok? 1.3, right? So is within the turnover, is the turnover within the threshold limit? Yes. Then what is the problem? Is providing repair service. Can you opt for composition levy scheme even if they provide repair service? Yes. Provided. How much value can be repair service? How much value? Turnover is 130 lakhs, which means how much percentage can be service? 10%, which means they can have service up to 13 lakh. That will be your answer. So you can give conditional answers always, saying that okay, they can opt. I don't say no to that, but provided their service is up to 10% or 5 lakh, whichever is higher. Here 10% would be higher. Is it clear? Is it clear? Can I have a thumbs up if it's clear? Okay. Second question. Look at the second part of the question. Narayan and Sons, a registered dealer, is running Khaza Gazana restaurant near City Palace, Jaipur. It has turnover of 140 lakh in the preceding financial year. In the current financial year, it has also started dealing in intrastate dealing of beverages in Jaipur. Can they opt for composition levy scheme? Yes or no? I want you to think through the entire thing. Their restaurant, right? Restaurants are eligible for composition levy scheme. Yes. Their turnover is what? 140 lakh, which is less than 1.5 crores. That way also it is fine, right? But what is the problem? They're saying that intrastate dealing in beverage. What do you mean by beverage? Tea is a beverage, coffee is a beverage, juice is a beverage, alcohol is also a beverage. If you're somebody who's thinking alcohol is the only beverage, then you would say no, because it's non-taxable supply. But any other beverage other than alcohol is fine. They can still opt for composition levy scheme, no problem at all. One question. What about aerated waters? If they are dealing in aerated waters, will they be eligible for composition levy scheme or not eligible? Eligible. I told you, aerated waters, PTI, bricks and blocks, manufacturers are not eligible. Dealer can go for it. Trader, I have written it in bracket at that time and I told you that if you are manufacturer, not a trader. So these kind of things, I told you at that time also, your eyes would get stuck with, aerated waters and all that. Like, so ensure that even if you're a dealer of aerated water, you can opt. But dealer of who cannot? Alcohol cannot. Okay, so they are eligible is my answer. Then C. Okay, question C there. Let's see whether you are answering it correct. Indran Bro, a registered dealer, is providing restaurant service in Uttarakhand. It has turnover of 70 lakh in the preceding financial year. It has started intrastate interior designing service in the current financial year and discontinued rendering restaurant service. Can they opt for composition levy scheme? My first question, can they opt for 10, 1 and 2 1% composition levy scheme? Yes or no? You have to fix an answer. Their last year turnover is 70 lakh. Last year they were restaurant. Current year they're asking for composition levy scheme where they stopped the restaurant service and they're into interior design. In the current year, are they eligible or not eligible? They are not eligible. Why? Because they are no more a restaurant. Other than restaurant cannot opt. Right? Now, last year they were restaurant. So just because last year they were restaurant, even if they stop restaurant and do something else, can they offer composition? No, that is not allowed. Only if they are restaurant, they can opt for it. Then, can they opt for 10 to A? Yes or no? Can they opt for 10 to A? What is the additional condition that needs to be satisfied for 10 to A? What is the turnover limit that we look for 10 to A? It is 50 lakh. What is the turnover that they have here? It is 70 lakh. Can they opt for composition? Can they opt for 10 to A scheme? Again, no, because their turnover last year on the same pan. Last year they did a restaurant service and they were doing the business under the same pan, right? Now the pan will not change. Only the business got changed. So last year their turnover is 70 lakh, which is more than 50 lakh. So are they eligible or not eligible? They are not eligible. Then look at D. See, I have taken this question from CA Final RTP, so conditional answers are allowed. Next. Him Naresh, a registered dealer, is exclusively providing intrastate architect services in Uttarakhand. It has turnover of 40 lakh in the preceding financial year. Question. They are an architect service provider. Can they opt for 1% scheme, composition levy scheme? Eligible, not eligible? 1%. Eligible, not eligible? Not eligible. Why? They are an architect. Only in service who can opt for 1%. Only who can opt for that 1% and 5% scheme, because restaurant is 5%. Who can opt for 5% scheme? It is only restaurant. So an architect cannot go for composition levy scheme with 1% or 5%. So that is not allowed. The next question would be, are they eligible for 10-2A? Are they eligible for 10-2A? What is additional condition to be satisfied for 10-2A? Their last year turnover has to be less than 50 lakh. Here, what is the last year turnover? It is 40 lakhs. So are they eligible for 10-2A? Yes, they will be eligible for 10-2A. Why in the previous question they were not eligible for 10-2A? Because their turnover was 70 lakhs. So how will you check? First, I will check whether they are eligible for composition levy scheme, that 1% or 5%. Their turnover limit is 1.5 crores or 75 lakhs. If that is not eligible, then I will check what? I will check the next scheme, which is 10-2A. There, my turnover limit has to be less than 50 lakhs in the previous year. That is how my checking would come. Are you guys understanding the answer for these questions? Is it clear? Can I have a thumbs up if it's clear? All right. Okay. So that concludes our discussion on composition levy scheme. We are fully done with recapping entire composition levy scheme. Now we have to go for 9.3 reverse charge cases, but we can do we can take a small break before that.